Hello, fellow RoboCapitalists. Hope you're well. So we have some big news in the housing market. Things are starting to crumble. Did you see the report that just came out from Zillow? This was absolutely shocking. We're going to discuss that right now. But in preparation, not that I prepare for these videos, but sometimes I prepare for maybe 10 seconds. And in my 10-second preparation for this video, I went on the Lennar website to see how new home prices are doing. And check this out. I'm not, this is not a screenshot. Hopefully it's still there. I didn't click on anything because I wanted you guys to see this. Look at this. This is the first thing that popped up when I went to the Lennar website. They're so desperate. This is a housing company. They're selling houses for like 400 or 500 grand and more. They're selling houses and they're so desperate that they're having a Black Friday sale. That's when you know the housing market is in dire straits, when these Lennar type of companies are having a Black Friday. I wonder if they'll do a Cyber Monday as well. Jeez. Actually, I want to view the offer. What's the offer here? Let me see. Oh, it depends on your location. Let's go to Florida. But where is it? Here we go. Oh, okay. Oh, Naples. I know Naples is really, and then we'll do Naples, yeah. Oh, it's just lead gen. But check, okay, over here. Black Friday savings are live. Receive up to $75,000 and incredible price reductions on select new homes all month long. Okay, so it's I like Black Friday, yet we're so desperate. We're going to give you a $75,000 discount all month long. Plus, own your dream home with as little as $1 down. I mean, if you ever wanted anecdotal evidence that the housing market is suffering, I give you Lennar. All right. So now let's go back to their listings, which is what I was trying to find to begin with. So, okay, let's just view homes. Move in ready. Okay, the very first house, $69,000 decrease in price. $69,000. And it's not like there's $1 million home. I mean, it's a $300,000 home. Okay, so good. A lot of these are not, but they're just these little 2-bed, 2-bath. Here's down 2,000, so that's not too much. Down 69,000. I want to see like the normal homes. These are just like condos. Here we go. So here's a normal house, down 42,000. They're taking, the price is down 42,000. Condo down 24. Here's an actual house, price down 62,000. You see, that's the thing with these little cheapy condos. I mean, some of the prices are still down, but it seems like those are moving. But in order to get the houses to move, they're having to do these massive discounts. Let's look at Houston. This was the one that was just a bloodbath last time I saw. Yeah, down 25,000, 59,000, 38,000, 43,000, 46,000, 12,000, 25,000, 18,000, 24,000, 40, 34. I mean, I don't know how anyone can still be bullish on the housing market or ignore this. You know, we've been reporting on this for the last, I don't know, year or so. And initially, you know, the pushback I'd always get is, oh, this is just fake news, George. In my market, there's still bidding wars. And you could tell it was from people that owned homes and they didn't want to admit that there might be a little bit of a risk, let's say, to their home equity, and they're just trying to use these mental gymnastics just to try to make them, seem like it's okay to sleep at night, or they're not going to stress out about it. They just want to be able to sleep at night. And it's you see that in the comments of the video so often, especially on Twitter. But now I don't think even those people that are trying to rationalize how, oh, this isn't in my area, I don't, and even if it hasn't touched their area yet, I think the evidence is so overwhelming when you look at the totality of the real estate market that even those people, I think, have to admit that, yeah, this isn't too good. And the odds are that I'm going to see this in my market relatively soon. Now so you say, okay, George, that's new home prices. Let's go over to used home prices. And this is where, we can see the stuff hitting the fan as well. And I had no idea. I actually heard this on Adam Taggart, my good buddy, his podcast, Thoughtful Money. And he had Melody Wright on. I think that's her name, Melody Wright. And they were talking about this. Let's go over to the next. Look at this headline. Housing alarm. As half of all U.S. homes fall in value. Biggest drop since the Great Recession. So if you're a housing bull, if you want to say this is fake news or home prices are going to go up forever, I mean, this is the normal argument that I hear. How do you reconcile this with your view? How do you reconcile Lennar having a Black Friday sale that, oh, by the way, lasts the entire month, where they're giving people $75,000 off the purchase price of certain homes? And then for other people, they're saying, yeah, and we're so desperate to sell. Not only will we give you $75,000 off the purchase price, but we'll also let you just put $1 down. $1 down. And the house is yours. Just please take it. I'm pretty soon they're going to be giving it to you for free, or they're going to be paying you to take it. I mean, this, and then on top of that, you see what's happening with the, let's say, used home prices, or existing home sales. I think that's what they call them. And biggest drop since the Great Recession. Yeah, and there's people out there that are actually bullish on the housing market. And let me zoom in here. Problem with some of these websites like this one, they have so many ads. I mean, it's just, look at this. I mean, my goodness. Many would-be buyers are holding off amid recession fears, certainly high mortgage rates above. That's not high. It's historically very low, and a standoff with sellers who refuse to cut asking prices. Well, okay, hold my beer, right? They refuse to cut asking prices, maybe not for too much longer. Many of the biggest drops are in once red-hot pandemic boom towns, which you would expect. In Denver, 91%, let me repeat, 91% of homes have fallen from their peak value. Austin, 89, 88% in Sacramento. Florida has been hit hard too. 80% of the homes in Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa are now worth less than they were a year ago. Dallas and San Antonio are seeing declines of more than 85% of the homes. And this is according to Zillow. This isn't according to Zero Hedge or something like that. Zillow report echoes a similar one from S&P Cotality, I heard that, Case-Shiller, that looked at the biggest 20 metros and found 9 had seen house prices fall. So again, I'm sure in the chat, I'm going to be getting, oh, George, this is fake news because I live in fill in the blank and we're still seeing bidding wars. Okay, I get it. But think about how this has progressed, right? 6 months ago, maybe 2 of these markets you saw decline. Now, then it goes to 4, then it goes to 5, then it goes to now half the homes listed for Zillow are taking price cuts. So do you think it's just going to stop right here? I mean, maybe, but what are the probabilities this continues and the problem gets worse before it gets better? And let's talk about fundamentals, because at the end of the day, it's all about incomes and interest rates. But when you have this extreme difference between incomes, well, I should say incomes and home prices, you eventually have to mean revert. Or, and you could mean revert one of two ways. The home prices can come down, or the wages can actually go up. So based on what you guys know about the labor market right now, you guys watch my video, you know that it's deteriorating rapidly to the point where we're getting negative non-farm payroll numbers when you look at the revisions. Do you think it's likely that the spread between the two is dramatically reduced by wages going up? Probably not. Most likely it's going to be that spread is going to decrease and normalize due to prices coming down. This is something we've been talking about on this channel for a long time, but let me show you what I'm referring to. I might have it up on long-term. Yeah, here we go. So this is just basically home prices adjusted for inflation. The red is home prices and the black is the CPI. So you're telling me this, you look at this and you're like bullish. And then you combine that with Zillow, you combine that with Lennar. I mean, how can you be bullish? And again, there's no certainties, there's only probabilities. But what are the probabilities that these two lines stay this far apart for a lot longer, especially when you have a deteriorating labor market and possibly a recession or contraction in economic growth? Okay, and real home prices. I thought they had, I could have sworn they had incomes on here. Well, let me show you what I'm referring to, because the bottom line is it's just as bad. I mean, if you look at a price to income ratio, you can see, and by the way, let's go back here. This is 50 years. We can go back 100 years and look at how these two lines are connected. They're really tied at the hip. You get a little bit of a bump here in the 80s and then in the 90s, but they're pretty much, I mean, adjusted for inflation, prices are pretty much flat going back to late 1800s. And then all of a sudden, in the late 90s, you see this to 2006. And for some reason, now we've convinced ourselves that this is just a housing bubble, is just a new norm, and that things are going to go up forever. Well, maybe, but maybe not. And we're possibly seeing the start of maybe not. And I know a lot of people push back and say, oh, but there's no supply, there's no supply, there's no supply, there's no supply. Right. But when people lose their jobs, even if they've got a 30-year fixed rate mortgage locked in at 3%, okay, they still can't make the mortgage payment. So they still got to sell their house. Or if you're a retiree and you're like, well, I've got to unlock my equity, I've got to sell my house, I can't keep up this payment because my Social Security is here and the cost of living is here. So I've got to sell the house, got to do something like that. I don't want to take the price risk because I'm just too old. Another thing, that if you want to argue that the reason why we have a low supply is because interest rates went up, therefore locking people in their house. Well, if interest rates go down, then how would you not argue that that would increase the supply? Because now people are no longer locked into that mortgage. They've got a 3%. Interest rates go down to whatever, 4 or so, or whatever they go down to, let's say. And now all of a sudden, it's an even trade that you can move and you don't have to take that big hit in your monthly mortgage payment to get the same price of a house somewhere else. So that brings supply onto the market, along with the Airbnb bubble and kind of everything else. So the argument that there's just no supply, I don't think that really holds up, especially if you go into a recession that usually is led by the labor market deteriorating and the unemployment rate going up. And I always say, even if even if your mortgage payment hasn't gone up. All right, but the cost of home ownership has gone up substantially when you look at property taxes, when you look at maintenance, when you look at insurance, for heaven's sakes, all these other costs have gone up. So just because the mortgage payment doesn't go up, does that, at the end of the day, really matter? If the whole cost of ownership has gone up, it's basically the same thing at the end of the day. The net result is identical. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I need to do some more research on this, dive into the markets, and I'm really curious to know what's happening with mortgage-backed securities. And I want to look at a spread between mortgage-backed securities and treasuries, and just kind of get my hands dirty, because I have not paid much attention to the residential real estate market for the last few months. So I'd like to do a whiteboard video on this and get into the nitty gritty to see really what's happening here. Because as you guys know, the entire economy is propped up by asset prices. So if we want to talk about the S&P 500, that's great. But I think an even more important component to aggregate demand and the wealth effect, if you will, is home equity. And I think that's much more important than the S&P 500, although I would argue that both of them are extremely important to propping up this, as my good buddy Peter Schiff says, this bubble economy that we're in. And I think he's spot on when he says that, because it implies that the economy itself, or the aggregate demand is what I always say, is really predicated upon asset prices being high. That's what's giving people the ability, not just mechanically, but the ability psychologically to go out there and spend money. And, that's the 10%, and the other 90% were recession. So if asset prices go down, the top 10% join the bottom 90%. And then that's what leads to an economic contraction, kind of that doom loop with the labor market. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. As always, make sure you're standing up for freedom, liberty, free market capitalism. We'll see you in the next video.